What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a look at Stoneshard, which has actually been out for quite some time, but very recently got a big update called Rags to Riches on, I believe it was December 16th. And to coincide with that update, the developer reached out and asked if I wanted to take a look at it, which obviously I agreed to, but mostly because this is a game people have been asking me to check out for quite some time. And that is because this particular game has been in early access since I believe like 2020. It's been a long time. Now it's received a whole host of updates and obviously has been worked on since then, but it's clearly been pretty slow going. This latest update, though, added things like a functional caravan system that allows you to fast travel long distances using a resource they're calling fodder. I didn't mess around with the caravan system too much with my few hours with it, but it looks like you'll be able to upgrade that caravan, even recruit some non-combat companions which have their own specialization and they can help you out with. A cooking system was added, a crafting system was added, a whole rework of several other systems, so it's a very large update if you haven't played in a while. But let's take a step back and talk about what this game is. Now, as you can probably see from the footage already, Stoneshard aims to recreate old school RPGs that have a very, I would say, specific niche. Now, the game is turn-based. Every movement is effectively a turn, and every turn consists of essentially one action, typically a movement or an attack of some kind. And what's more, as it is again trying to recreate some of those older games, this one is pretty unforgiving. Everything down to its save system and its combat mechanics can be pretty challenging in a way that's probably going to be make or break for some people. I would say you'll either love it or hate it, with not a lot of middle ground in between. Personally, not a fan of the save system, but we'll get to that. Stoneshard, though, allows you to take a character and effectively play through a very open system, tracking down leads for the main story, while also taking on contracts to clear out various dungeons, while you develop your own character in terms of equipment, skills, and attributes. When you first fire the game up, you'll be able to choose between the prologue, which is effectively like an extended tutorial, or just jumping straight into the open world part. Now, the tutorial does actually set up the story at the same time, where essentially there's some sort of vampire cult using an item called the Stoneshard to try to ascend to ever greater heights, and naturally you'd like to put a stop to that, as your fight with the vampire pope at the end of the tutorial proves they might be a little bit of a problem. Following this, or if you simply chose adventure mode, you will jump straight into the rest of the game, where the person who survived the tutorial gives your character a briefing. Now, right away, a character creator is not currently in the game, but it's something they are working on right now. You just pick between a few preset characters that have a general sort of play style associated with them, and a unique trait. After that, you're basically given the task of going and talking to the elder, who's going to give you your first contract to go clear out a dungeon essentially, and then from there the story's pretty much underway, with you having pretty much free reign of the open sandbox style of game they're trying to make here. So what you do from there is largely up to you. But as you do any of it, you'll gain experience and level your character up, which allows you to embrace the classless leveling system here. So every level up you get an attribute point and a skill point. The attribute points allow you to increase your attributes, which provides a minor benefit, and over time they kind of accumulate to make you better at that general thing. Skill points, on the other hand, are much more impactful. You'll spend these on one of the game's skill trees, of which there are many, including things like magic skill trees, basic skills, things that allow you to hone in on various weapons, and you can mix and match these to your heart's content. Now, the rest of progression largely comes from your equipment. You'll be gathering this either from enemies that you defeat or simply buying some of it outright, and none of it is restricted. You can equip any of this in any manner you see fit, but it covers your usual bases. Range stuff, casters, your melee-oriented warriors, a more roguish type, though it's my understanding a stealth system is still in the works, so how well that works right now is up for debate. But that stuff, combined with the game's other system, like basic survival needs, eating and drinking, injury system, where each part of your body can be injured essentially, a sanity mechanic, a pain system, fatigue even. So there's all sorts of stuff going on that all of this interacts with, and some of these items can even come with enchantments or curses that you have have to watch out for. So a pretty robust system overall, just right now even. Now gameplay wise, this game is pretty much what you see is what you get. You move around taking on contracts and things which will lead you to the game's dungeons and the boss fights therein. Some of these have alternative methods of completion, some of them are more set in stone, other parts of it are more procedurally generated, so to speak. But as you do all of that stuff, you can earn reputation with the various towns and whatnot that you are in. Towns that have a crime and punishment system, a working economy even. A lot of those things that I would say are hallmarks of a sandbox. But in interacting with all of that, the main thing you have to keep in mind is that the world is quite dangerous. You are not some grand hero, a lot of things can kill you very easily, and as such the game requires a certain amount of trial and error on your part. But given all of the skill trees and the variety to how you build a character, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Now that said, as I move to wrap up this particular video, there are a few drawbacks I want to mention. So I talked about the save system briefly. The way saving currently works is that if you want to save, you either have to rest at an inn, use a bedroll, which comes with the possibility of being attacked out in the wilderness, which is a huge problem if you wanted to save the game, or you can simply get an exit save when you save and quit, but that is deleted when you load the game back. Now this system basically means that saving anywhere that isn't an inn or somewhere you can rest safely is a risk, and you either deal with that risk or die, which is very easy to do, and lose potentially like an hour of progress from the last time you saved. And I'm just never a fan of save systems like that, especially in games like these where again trial and error seems to be a good bit of the point. And not being able to do that, for me at least, definitely hurts the experience. Now, what I would personally like to see is them simply turn this into an option, let that be one of the difficulty modes even. But in its current iteration, in my opinion, the save system is mostly just frustrating. And it's going to lead to a lot of people quitting before they've even gotten started over something that isn't challenging so much as it is just really annoying. Now, on the flip side of that, though, you have this whole injury and body part system, and I think that system actually doesn't get enough play in the way the game is currently set up because it is in fact so easy to die if things don't go your way, because that means like all these status effects and conditions and stuff don't really get a lot of back and forth with you the player because you're either good or you're dead in most cases, and there's not a lot of in between there, and I think that can pose a problem in terms of actually utilizing the gameplay elements of an injury system like that. And that's the kind of thing that I think could use a little bit more balance, especially as this heads for its eventual full release. So when you put all that together for a simple checkout video, you have a game that is, on one hand, very, very promising, but also, I would say, is going to pose a certain barrier of entry to a lot of potential players. But if you can get over that hurdle, I think there's a pretty great experience here, which is why I wanted to bring you guys this video. And while I personally don't love everything about it, to be sure, what I will do is when this game fully releases, take a complete look at it and go over everything once the game is actually in its final state, or its 1.0 state, I should say. But for now, I think that's pretty much going to do it. So if any of that was interesting to you, or you have something to say about it, by all means, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.